and welcome back to the Library of Parthos. My name is Sarah, and today we are talking all things bathroom. Before we get to the book that we're going to be talking about today, I just had to share. I know these are kind of like viral and taking everybody by storm, but they really are worth the hype, and that is the Biodance sheet masks. These things are amazing. I am typically not a fan of sheet masks because I think they're just sopping wet. They stick for like 5 seconds and then they slide down your face and they never do anything. And sometimes I feel like they just dry my face out more, but these are the real deal. I didn't use one today just because it's, if you really want to see results, it's a bit of a time investment, I would say, and the results don't last long. But if you're like looking for just a little pick-me-up for the day, this is the way to go. So they're like a silicone mask. There's a top portion and a bottom portion, which you could see here. And then there are cutouts for the eyes and the mouth, but the little pieces are there. So what I've been doing is where the mask doesn't quite like reach, I've been putting those little pieces like here closer to my eyes so that I'm getting full coverage. It starts out white and just like this silicone material, but the longer you leave it on, it dries, and it dries clear into like a hard mask, and then you just peel it off whenever you're done. Ideally, you leave it on for 2 to 3 hours. I was working at an event a couple of weeks ago where I was not getting a lot of sleep and I wanted to look like I was in the morning. So I actually slept with one of these on. And honestly, in the morning, it looked like I had got 8 to 10 hours of sleep and not 4. So these are amazing. I've been telling everybody about them. I can put a link in the description if you are wanting to get them. They are available on Amazon. I would just stock up on them and keep them for special occasions when you're traveling again. If you're like, it's been a really rough couple of days, I just need a little something, then I can't speak highly of these enough. They're so, so good. Anyway, speaking of things that are in a bathroom, let's talk about toilets. Specifically, let's talk about a toilet-bound ghost. That's right, today we are talking about a toilet-bound Hanako-Kun. I'm so excited to talk about this manga. Oh, it was so good. So a couple of weeks ago, I posted a short about my anniversary gift from hubby. We were traveling, we got these manga mystery bags, and as I'm sure you know, they're just books that they're trying to get rid of to make more room for other inventory, and it was like volumes 3 through 8 of random mangas. Not even a volume 2, I don't think. So we were like, what do we do with these? We don't know if any of them are gonna be good. And so for our anniversary, hubby got me an actually good mystery bag of volume 1 of a couple of manga that are really popular right now, including this one. And I posted that short and asked where I should start, and it was suggested that this was the best place to start, and I couldn't agree more. As usual, let's talk spoiler-free very quickly of this manga, and then we'll get into the spoilers. Spoiler-free, toilet-bound Hanako-Kun is about a school where there are all of these like mysteries and supernatural type occurrences, and a girl, Yashiro, decides that she wants to seek out Hanako-san to see if she can get a wish granted to make her crush fall in love with her. And all sorts of shenanigans ensue from that point. Now today we are just talking about volume 1. I do plan on continuing to read because I highly enjoyed this story. So let's go ahead and get into it, spoilers and everything. Today we are just talking about volume 1 of this manga, however there are several more. There's also an anime. So our story begins with the main character, Nene Yashiro, talking with her friends about the 7 mysteries at this school. So there are these like 7 big supernatural mysteries in the school that they attend. The first one that she is taught about is Hanako-san, this ghost that lives in the girls' bathroom and will grant wishes to those who ask in exchange for a high cost, of course, because as we know, for those of us who read fantasy, magic always comes with a price, so there is something that is going to have to be paid in return. Yashido has a crush on this boy who, from what we can tell, probably has no idea who she is. So she decides to get anywhere with her crush. She's gonna get a little supernatural help from Hanako-san, the ghost of the toilets. So she heads into the girls' bathroom and calls on Hanako, who does appear. Much to her shock, Hanako-san, which indicates that it should be a girl, is not a girl at all, but is a boy. All the same, they have a conversation where she explains what she is wanting to get out of this exchange, and he decides, yes, I'm gonna help you out, here you go, and he gives her basically a how-to book and opens it up and starts to look through some of these strategies that he will suggest to her. And this is where I really fell in love with this story because it was just so funny. So first of all, he asks her if she has any sort of special skills that she can use to impress this boy. Her response is that her special skill is plowing dirt, because in order to impress him and other boys in the past, she learned how to garden, how to sew, basically these things that would make her seem more, probably more feminine and more attractive to them in her mind. So plowing dirt is her expertise. At one point while she's talking through all of this, she explains that the boy she liked previously described her as having little radish legs, which is kind of a joke that continues throughout the rest of volume 1, and I just thought it was so funny, because like, what does a radish leg even look like? It's so funny. So Hanako says, okay, great, gardening is your specialty, that's awesome, let's use it. Why don't you give a gift to your crush? And I'm thinking flowers, right? No, she gives him tomatoes and cucumbers from a garden. And so there's kind of this like cutaway between Yashido and Hanako watching this happen, and she's like, oh my gosh, why would you say to do this? He hates it. And then it's her crush saying like, did somebody accidentally leave their vegetables here? Like, what is this? So it's so funny how confused he is in this horrible advice that she's receiving. So they go back and forth with these different ideas, and at one point these mermaid scales fall out of Hanako's pocket and Yashido picks them up. He explains that they're called a matchmaker, that two people swallow them and they'll be bound together, but at a terrible cost. And she says like, you know, whatever, I'm willing to pay any cost. She swallows one of the scales and sneaks off to try to get her crush to swallow the other scale, and in the process she turns into a fish. So of course Hanako explains like, yeah, that's what I meant, you know, you'd be bound together, but you'd be bound together in servitude to the mermaid whose scales you ate. You'd be some sort of fish creatures, but since nobody ate the other scale, you got like, you absorbed all of the curse, so you're entirely fishy, whereas if it would have been split, like you would have been half fish. So the mermaid comes for her new servant. Hanako fights the mermaid off and offers to turn Yashido back into a fish, of course, in exchange for something. And the thing that he wants in exchange is just a human assistant. He thinks that sounds really, really great. So she is now a human and Hanako has an assistant. Most of her duties as assistant involve cleaning toilets, but as she's continuing to do that, throughout the school, things slowly start to disappear, and there's talk that it could be the fairies. The fairies are creatures that are known for stealing things right from out in front of you. However, if you ever lay eyes on them, they will kill you. As Yashido is going around the school, she finds all of these things that have gone missing: notebooks, pens, little action figures, and suddenly this giant creature comes out to attack her. It's a fairy. Hanako comes and saves the day again, of course, and the fairy kind of dissolves into all these little bunny creatures, which are called moke, and they are the little fairies that are just known for causing like mild mischief. But something that we learn is, for the fairies in particular, and I think for supernaturals in general, they have to live up to their rumors. So if somebody says that if you lay eyes on a fairy, it'll kill you, that's what they have to do. So they ask Yashido to try to change the rumors about them so that they don't have to do that anymore because they really like living there. They don't want to be kicked out. They just really are unhappy with the situation. So Hanako attempts to change the rumor. Instead of if you lay eyes on a fairy, they'll kill you, to, yeah, the fairies take your stuff, but if you offer them a piece of candy, they'll just give it back. And so there's like a little image of all of these little moke traveling like in a line with all these little pieces of candy. And it's just so funny. Hanako and Yashido are continuing to work together in this like weird supernatural assistant kind of relationship. And then suddenly there comes a guy who's going to exorcise Hanako, and his name is Minamoto. He's part of the Minamoto clan. They are exorcists, and he has to do this to kind of prove himself to his family. So using this weapon that's kind of been passed down from generation to generation, he attempts to exorcise Hanako, and Hanako says like, I can't let you do that, I'm sorry. At which point Minamoto says, hey, did you know that he killed humans with the knife that he carries around, like the carving knife? And Yashido's kind of like, I don't really think that he would do that. And he's like, actually, yeah, that's pretty accurate. That's exactly what I did. But I was told that if I can fulfill my duties here, I'll be kind of absolved of those sins. So that's why I can't let you exorcise me, because I'm not finished. I gotta get all this work done so that everything will be okay. So he does defeat Minamoto. Basically, he just punches him in the stomach and seals up his weapon so he can't use it anymore. And now we get to learn about one of the other 7 mysteries at the school, which is the Misaki stairs. So these stairs, if you step on the 4th step in particular, which is like real slimy and gross, it is a doorway to the other world. And once you cross over, you like cease to exist. So one of Yashido's friends goes up this staircase and just completely disappears. Like her desk is gone, any plants that belong to her are gone, her homeroom teacher doesn't know who she is anymore, Yashido calls her parents, they don't know who she's talking about, but she somehow remembers. So she is telling Hanako about all of these things that have happened, and Minamoto comes running in and says the same thing happened to 2 of his classmates. So Hanako says like, all right, we gotta go take care of this, we're gonna go up the steps into the other world and we're gonna get them back. They enter the other world and they receive a phone call from Mizaki, who was a former teacher at that school. She was killed and torn to pieces. I believe that's a direct quote. And she will let their friends go if they can kind of bring her body back. So she first asks for a right arm, and they all find things that are not a human arm, like a mannequin arm, a robot arm, I think like a wooden armed something, and they're kind of arguing over it, and she says, you know, time's up, you didn't do what I asked, now you die. And this giant pair of scissors like comes chasing after them, they duck, and in the last like image on the page, this pair of scissors is coming right for Yashido, and that's where the story ends. That's the end of volume 1. I gotta say, I am shocked that this goofy little manga ends on such a cliffhanger. I cannot wait to pick up volume 2 and find out what else is going to happen. This was so much fun to read. I read it in like one day, so it's super short, super easy. There's so much humor in here, so many little jokes that are referenced back to. I am so excited to watch the anime as well and just kind of, you know, give more personality to these characters and hear their voices and what they sound like. So I highly recommend this. I think also this is kind of a good starter manga. So if you've not really dove into the world of manga and anime, this might be a good place to start. It's a little goofy. There's some supernatural elements, but it's nothing that's like really that different from fantasy. So I think this might be a good kind of like, let's ease into things sort of story. So I can't wait to get into volume 2. Thank you for the recommendation. To those of you who commented, this was definitely worth the read. If you have other recommendations for manga, I am always open to them. I am definitely in need of more manga to read. But that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.